brings us into the life of a woman whose name should be remembered for more than the heartbreaking events that followed her final days. This is the story of Roseberline Philippe, a 32-year-old mother, daughter, and hospital worker in Westchester County, New York. Her life mattered long before the news cameras ever arrived.
A Portchester man has pleaded not guilty in the murder of his ex-girlfriend. Her body was found last month at an Elmsford motel. News 12's Lauren Del Val was at Westchester County Court for the hearing.
Of 32-year-old Roseberline Philippe.
Before her name appeared across headlines, Roseberline lived a life shaped by routine, responsibility, and quiet determination. She worked as an office assistant at a hospital in White Plains. It was the kind of job that requires patience, consistency, and compassion. Those who interacted with her remembered someone warm and approachable, someone who tried to make each day a little easier for the people she worked with. She wasn't loud. She wasn't demanding attention. She showed care in small, steady ways that made her presence felt. But above everything else, Roseberline was a mother. She had a 2-year-old child who meant the world to her. Every plan she made, every decision she weighed, centered around creating a safe and stable future. Family members said she was tender, protective, and deeply devoted. That little child was her motivation to get up each morning, go to work, and push through whatever challenges she faced. People who knew her personally described her using words that reflected both affection and respect. They said she was kind. They said she was caring. They said she had a gentle nature that made others comfortable around her. She encouraged her friends when they struggled. She looked after her family. She believed in keeping peace and staying grounded. There was nothing dramatic or complicated about the way she lived. She valued stability, she valued hard work, and she valued love, especially the love she had for her child. When we look at her life, not the headlines, but the real pieces of her everyday world, a clearer picture emerges. Roseberline was someone who mattered to many people. She was a daughter cherished by her family, a friend who offered comfort, a coworker who showed up and did her job with care, and a mother who placed her child at the center of everything she did. Her story does not begin with tragedy. It begins with a woman who tried to build a good life, who carried hope for her future, and who gave love freely to the people she held close. This is who Roseberline Philippe was, and this is where her story truly begins. As we move deeper into this story, it becomes important to understand the relationship that tied Roseberline to the man now accused in her death. His name is Justin Bartley, also 32 years old. He was her ex-boyfriend, and he was the father of her young child. Their connection didn't begin with conflict, but by the time of Roseberline's final days, it had become strained, complicated, and deeply troubling for her family. Public records and news reports confirm that Bartley had a criminal history long before this case. In 2022, he pleaded guilty in Rockland County to attempted criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, along with a DWI charge. These weren't minor offenses. They were serious enough to follow him for years, and by early November 2025, when everything unfolded, he was still on probation. This detail would later become significant because it added another layer to the concerns surrounding him. For those close to Roseberline, there were signs that things between them had changed long before the tragedy occurred. Her sister spoke publicly and explained that Rose had become afraid of him, especially after the birth of their son. The joy of welcoming a child should have brought stability and support, but according to her family, it brought fear instead. They said she tried to keep her distance and protect herself emotionally and physically. One moment reported by multiple outlets shows how tense things had become. Just one day before Roseberline was found dead, Bartley reportedly appeared at the home where she lived with her parents. He was not invited. Her family told him to leave, recognizing that his presence brought tension and concern. That brief confrontation would stand out later as a warning sign, a moment that showed how close things were to spiraling out of control. None of these details are assumptions. They come from police reports, court records, and statements from the people who knew the couple best. They form the backdrop of a relationship that had broken apart, a relationship that carried fear instead of trust, and a relationship that would set the stage for the devastating events that followed. This was the world Roseberline was navigating, a world where she was raising a child, working hard, and trying to keep herself safe from someone who had once been part of her life. On Sunday, November 2nd, 2025, the life of Roseberline Philippe came to a tragic end. She was found dead in room 230 at the Days Inn by Wyndham Elmsford, a modest motel located in Elmsford, Westchester County.
According to police, Philippe was pronounced dead about 10 minutes after they arrived on scene. Police say video surveillance showed a man fleeing the scene along with a young child. The suspect has been identified as 32-year-old Justin Bartley.
The discovery shook her family, friends, and the local community, leaving them searching for answers. According to court documents and police reports, Roseberline suffered a sustained assault at the hands of Justin Bartley, lasting several hours. Authorities reported the attack began around 8:30 in the morning and continued until approximately 4:30 that afternoon. The details revealed in these official documents paint a disturbing picture of prolonged violence, though the focus remains on what can be confirmed, not on speculation. After the assault, Bartley allegedly left the motel with their 2-year-old son. Surveillance footage reportedly captured him exiting the building with the child, and authorities immediately initiated a search. It was housekeeping staff who later discovered Roseberline's body inside the room. Medical personnel arrived shortly after and pronounced her dead roughly 10 minutes later. Her sudden loss was devastating to all who knew her, particularly her young child, who now faced a world without a mother. Authorities conducted a thorough search to locate Bartley and ensure the child's safety. The toddler was found unharmed, and Bartley was arrested later the same day in the Bronx without incident. The swift response by law enforcement ensured the child was protected and placed in the care of family members. This day marked the beginning of a legal process that would later hold Bartley accountable and begin to answer the questions surrounding Roseberline's final hours. It is a day remembered for tragedy, but also for the immediate efforts of authorities to safeguard the life of her young child. On December 5, 2025, the legal process officially began when prosecutors filed formal charges against Justin Bartley. He was charged with second-degree murder in connection with the death of Roseberline Philippe, as well as endangering the welfare of a child, reflecting the presence of their 2-year-old son during the events that led to her death. These charges underscored the severity of the alleged actions and set the stage for a court case that would draw public attention. During his arraignment, Bartley entered a not guilty plea. The courtroom was tense as the charges were read aloud, highlighting the gravity of the situation. In response, the judge ordered that he be held without bail, ensuring that he would remain in custody pending further court proceedings. At the same time, temporary protection orders were issued to safeguard Roseberline's family and prevent any further contact from the accused. These measures provided immediate legal protection to those most affected by the tragedy. The investigation into Roseberline's death involved a coordinated effort between multiple agencies. Local police led the initial response, while county authorities assisted in compiling evidence and documenting the scene. In addition, a task force that included the FBI's Safe Streets Task Force became involved, reflecting the seriousness with which authorities approached the case. Every step of the investigation aimed to ensure that the facts were fully established and that the child and family received the protection and support they needed. As of the latest updates, the next scheduled court hearing is set for March 6, 2026. Legal proceedings are ongoing, and investigators continue to prepare the case for trial. While the community watches closely, the focus remains on the pursuit of justice for Roseberline Philippe and on supporting her child and family as they navigate the aftermath of a loss that has left a permanent void in their lives. The death of Roseberline Philippe left a profound void in the lives of those who loved her most. She was only 32 years old, yet she had already become the center of a small family, a loving daughter, and a devoted mother. Her 2-year-old child now faces a world without a mother's care, protection, and guidance. Every routine, every milestone, every small moment that a child experiences will now unfold without her presence, leaving a gap that cannot be filled. Her family and friends have spoken openly about the grief that has engulfed them. Her sister described Roseberline as someone who was both devoted and compassionate, a woman whose love extended beyond her immediate family to friends, co-workers, and those who needed support. Others recalled her as an amazing friend, a loving daughter, and a mother whose life was defined by kindness and strength. These words reveal the human side of a tragedy often reduced to headlines and legal filings. In response to the sudden loss, a fundraising campaign was launched on GoFundMe to assist with funeral expenses and provide support for her young child's future. The page became a place where neighbors, friends, and even strangers could contribute and show that her life mattered. Each donation reflected a shared desire to honor her memory and to ensure that her child would not face this loss entirely alone. The emotional impact on the community has been significant as well. Roseberline's story has resonated with many, both because of the tragic circumstances and because of who she was as a person. Friends spoke of the trauma they felt, the disbelief, and the sorrow of seeing someone so vibrant and caring taken too soon. Her loss is felt not just as a headline, but as a human tragedy, highlighting the fragility of life and the real consequences of violence. In every statement from family and friends, one truth remains clear. Roseberline Philippe was much more than the circumstances of her death. She was a woman who gave love freely, worked hard for her child, and left a lasting impression on everyone who knew her. Her absence is felt deeply, a reminder of what was lost and the importance of remembering her life, not just her death. Roseberline Philippe's story is not only a personal tragedy, it also highlights a broader and serious issue that affects families across the country: domestic violence. While each case is unique, there are often warning signs that someone may be in danger, and understanding these signs can be critical in preventing future harm. Public reporting in this case shows that Roseberline's family had noticed changes in her behavior. Her sister indicated that Roseberline had become fearful of Justin Bartley, particularly after the birth of their child. Family members described attempts to limit contact and avoid confrontations, which is a common step people take when they feel threatened. These details emphasize how fear can shape daily life for victims long before a crisis escalates. Statistics show that domestic violence affects individuals of all backgrounds, and children are often present in these situations. In Roseberline's case, her 2-year-old son was reportedly with Bartley during the incident. Authorities responded quickly to ensure the child's safety, but the presence of a child underscores the added risks and trauma that domestic violence can create. Experts often encourage family members, friends, and neighbors to take reports of fear and intimidation seriously. Intervention by law enforcement, social services, or other support networks can sometimes prevent harm before it reaches a fatal outcome. The involvement of local police, county authorities, and specialized task forces in this case reflects the seriousness with which the system responds when credible threats are present. Roseberline's story serves as a reminder that domestic violence is a complex and dangerous reality. Recognizing the signs, fear, threats, previous criminal history, and confrontational behavior can be life-saving. While we focus on the details of this case, it is important to remember that these are lessons drawn from real-life events that continue to affect families nationwide. Her life, and the tragic circumstances of her death, highlight both the human cost and the urgent need for awareness, support, and intervention for victims of domestic abuse. It is a call to understand the warning signs, to listen when someone expresses fear, and to take action when a life may be at risk. As we bring this story to a close, it is important to remember who Roseberline Philippe was. She was more than a name in a news report. She was a mother devoted to her young child, a daughter cherished by her family, a friend who offered care and support, and a person whose life was filled with hope, love, and quiet strength. Her life was cut far too short, leaving behind people who loved her and a community still trying to process the loss. The stakes are clear. A toddler now grows up without a mother. Family members grieve the absence of a daughter and sister. Friends mourn the loss of someone who made their lives brighter. And the community is left shocked, reminded once again of the real human cost behind headlines that can sometimes feel distant. As viewers, it is vital to approach stories like this with empathy, not just curiosity. Roseberline was a person with dreams, responsibilities, and a life full of meaning. Seeing victims as people, not statistics or sensational stories, helps honor their memory and brings awareness to the real human consequences of violence. We also encourage responsible discussion. Reflect on what domestic violence looks like in everyday life. Think about how survivors can be supported. Consider ways communities can step in to protect vulnerable individuals. Sharing insights, resources, or guidance in thoughtful comments can help turn awareness into meaningful action. As this case proceeds through the courts, more details will emerge, and justice will continue to take its course. Until then, we remember Roseberline Philippe, we honor her life, and we hold on to hope for justice for her and her family. Her story is a reminder that behind every report, there is a human life, one that deserves to be remembered, respected, and never forgotten. Thank you for watching. If you found this story informative, please support the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you more true crime investigations.